Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. Today we are back with another review. It's been a while, right? I got this just yesterday. It was published just yesterday. I'm only now getting around to do it. I wanted to do it on publishing day, but alas, life isn't perfect. So I haven't, as you've seen, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I haven't, as you can see, I haven't even opened the package yet, Amazon package yet. I pre-ordered it months and months ago, completely forgot about it, and then got a notification that it was dispatched. I was like, what's this? Oh yeah, it's Megan Fox's poetry book. So that's what we're going to be reviewing today. I'm going to do it a bit differently and give you a first reaction. I haven't done this in other videos before. Normally I've read the book and then turned on the camera. I want to get the first reaction, sort of unboxing. It's almost unboxing and review in one. It's not almost, that's exactly what we're doing. I'm so rusty with these videos that I wish I made videos more, but yeah, that's what we're going to do. Let's get into the video. Okay, so I'm going to try and be as open-minded with this as possible. I actually wrote an article and published an article in the autumn issue of the Poetry Cove magazine, kind of discussing whether or not the criticism has destroyed the resurgence of poetry. You know, we saw that all these celebrities were bringing out poetry collections. Poetry was on the up. And I think it's sort of plateaued now, if not on the decline. And I kind of wrote an article discussing whether or not reviews and critique of poetry was so harsh that it kind of put people off. And I think obviously it's important to critique poetry, whether it's from a celebrity or not, fairly and from a technical standpoint, and not just pander to the fact that, oh, our craft is having a resurgence and we should love every piece of poetry that comes out. I don't think that is fair. I don't think that is productive to do that, to just, you know, worship poetry no matter what. But at the same time, I also kind of want to make sure that we're encouraging poetry still, and we're not kind of destroying the fact that everyone wants to release poetry, because that's great, right? Poetry is, you know, the release of our soul onto pages. Oh man, I've forgotten how to speak. What has happened to me? But I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. Poetry is the release of the soul. We should respect that. We should encourage that. But at the same time, if people are going to kind of bring out namesake collections, I'm going to coin the term whereby I've been through puberty, right? Whereby, nice and deep manly voice, my voice cracked, whereby you're going to release a poetry collection just because your name is so and so without actually putting any thought into the poetry. I think what I'm trying to say is, I think it's great that we're all releasing poetry collections, but we need to also protect poetry as a craft. I haven't opened this. I'm really, really hoping this is going to be an amazing collection. But history tells me that sometimes people take advantage of these namesake collections, these celebrity poetry collections. Anyway, let's get into the video. So, I'm hoping you can hear me. I've just realised I have my heater on. We're getting into colder weather, so maybe I'll turn that off. Silence. Sorry about that. So let's get started with the unboxing. Okay, it's got that nice, I say nice, is it nice? I haven't even looked yet, but I'm feeling it. It's got that sort of rubbery feel to the cover, which I believe I've discussed in a previous video. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure if that's because it's a more of economic way of publishing books. Hopefully it's for a reason to do with the environment. It's a greener material, I don't know. But I do like the feel of a matte cover. This, I know this comes under matte. Very nice. I know this comes under a matte finish, but I'm not sure. What? Tell me what you think about in the I always love, sometimes when you can't even string a sentence together and stay on one chain of thought. Sometimes when you open a collection, I had this with Lana Del Rey's book, when you open it, you get that whiff of, you know, freshly cut paper and freshly printed book. It does kind of have that feel to it. Anyway, if you're a true book lover, I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at there. But okay, so who's the publisher? Headline, okay. It says it's overexposed. There you go. So okay, it's really nice. I love the blend of I love this color. I used to use a similar color on my thumbnails. I really like that cover. Okay, pretty boys are poisonous, and then obviously it's got the snake and some lips. The snake is obviously a biblical image. Right, wasn't the snake the devil in the Bible or something? And the snake gets used for other sort of is used to represent sin, I guess. The pierced lip, I think that's a pierced lip, or it's got a wedding ring around it. I think it's a pierced lip. But yeah, I'm going into this completely blind, so I might have to edit out some sort of silent pauses while I try and take it all in. Again, in my previous videos I've already sort of read the book and written some notes. This is like fresh out the box reaction. These poems were written in an attempt to excise the illness that had taken root in me because of my silence. I've spent my entire life keeping the secrets of men. My body aches from carrying the weight of their sins. There you go. Sins. My freedom lives in these pages. My freedom lives in these pages, and I hope that my words can inspire others to take back their happiness and their identity by using their voice to illuminate what's been buried but not forgotten in the darkness. Pretty Boys Are Poisonous marks the powerful debut from one of the most well-known women of our time. Turn the page, bite the apple, and sink your teeth into the most deliciously compelling and addictive books you'll read all year. Megan Fox is an actor, writer, and mother. I actually kind of like that there's an author photo. It's Megan Fox, right? But I'm just trying to remember if there was an author photo in the other collections. I think there was one on violets bent backwards over the grass. I don't remember there being one in Florence's book, from Florence and the Machine. I'll leave a link to my review playlist, by the way. I don't think there was one for Bella Thorne's. But anyway, I kind of like that there was a author photo. No, I'm not gonna flick through just yet. Okay, cool. So let's discuss the cover. That's the blurb headline. I really like the cover. I don't think it's too much, right? I like the font that's been used. It's quite a popular font these days. The handwriting thing. I think I've even used this font where it says poems. I think I've even used that font in the Poetry Code magazine. It looks. If not, it looks very similar. But yeah, I really like, it's not too much, it doesn't scream at you, it kind of, but it does catch your eye. I like it. Let's open the book for the first time and see what we're dealing with. Okay. So, right off the bat, you'll understand that I'm quite, one of my things is being environmentally responsible, and I can't even speak. I haven't warmed up for this video at all. It's been a while. Environmentally responsible and resource conscious, I guess. I don't know if this is a poem, and I'm not going to judge right off the bat because, again, I haven't read the book. If I kind of like that sentiment. Okay, I like the sentiment. In a book of poems, it says poems on the cover, so there's no escaping this. My soul is full of holes. We've got some rhyme off the bat, that's good. My soul is full of holes from your acid-soaked love. I like the sentiment. But does it really need... I don't know if you can see it because my viewfinder is saying it's overexposed. Does it? My soul is full of holes from your acid-soaked love. Do we really need a whole page for that? There are longer pieces, so I'm not going to judge right off the bat. Some people's book, no names, is the whole book is just that, with 2 lines on every page. We've also got a blank page here. Kind of nice. I understand it. It gives the poem the space, you know. But I can't change well, people can change their opinion, but I've always said that if a poem is good enough, it can share a page with another poem. So I stand true to my principles. I don't think a whole page needs 2 lines, but I'm very excited because I'm just flicking through saying that, but there's another one. 2 lines on 1 page. I used to believe love was a poem. Now I know love is a killing spree. Oh, that's the opener. Okay, that's the opener. I used to believe love was a poem. Now I know love is a killing spree. The indoctrination of a hopeless romantic. I like that. Again, I do like that. I like the sentiment, and I'm trying to keep an open mind here. It's got an element of poetic to it. You know, some books we've been through together, and it's kind of just been mundane sentences. I used to believe love was a poem. Now I know love is a killing spree. I like the enjambment. I think the line break is good, but I have to stand by my principles. I don't think that belongs on a whole page. Those two liners could have been on a page together. But from what I've seen just flicking through, the majority of this the majority of the book seems to be longer formed poems. So I'm going to get into it, I'm going to dive into it, I'm going to turn the camera off, I'm going to read, and then we're going to discuss the poems and the poetry and the technique together, and then wrap it all up with a conclusion. Okay, let's do the review. Now, yes, there are some good and some bad points, and again I came at this very open, and don't immediately jump to that this is going to be a bad review. It's not at all. There are some points I want to talk about, but overall, let me start with this. Would I recommend this book? Yes, actually I would. I think this definitely has a place in anyone's poetry collection. It's deep, it has some hard-hitting topics, some poems are better than others, but what I will say is, I have a tattoo here, right? It's awkward to show you, but on it is a quote: "Writing is easy, all you have to do is sit at the typewriter and bleed." And this definitely sort of encompasses, personifies that. Doesn't personify it, because that's not what personify means. It encompasses that quote. There's a lot of heavy hitting topics. You can tell that Megan Fox really kind of sat at the typewriter and bled, and it's all here on the pages of this book. Some poems I really like, and I'm going to start with reading my favourite one. My two favourites. One is the second poem in the book, and one is towards the end. And then we're going to go through some of the poems that I kind of not took issue with, but have some thoughts on. Let's put it that way, right? But first, in all the other videos I talked about the formatting and the design. I just want to say that this, despite the fact that there are plenty more poems than first discovered, that could all be put on the same page, and each poem has a blank page in front of it. Despite that, I have to say it's a really well put together book, designed book, and I'm going to give interior design by Jamie Putorti. Sorry, I butchered your name, Jamie Putorti. I really like it. I think it's really put together nicely. I like that there's the although they are lowercase, there's still the bold and bigger letter at the start of every poem. It just sort of gives it that old fairy tale feeling. I don't know if that's on purpose. The fairy tale, it is sort of an old fairy tale font as well, the big bold letter. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but at least that's the sort of takeaway I have from it. I've turned my heater on again, sorry, while I was reading. That's the takeaway I had, like the old fairy tale kind of book. But it's also, again, like formal type font, Garamond or Times, whatever. But I like the little pattern as well down here. I think it's just a nice touch. As I say, I think it's a really nicely formatted and designed book. Another point I wanted to say were the illustrations are stunning. I really liked the illustrations, and again we've got the serpent and the snake, which is all mentioned. It's all sort of a theme in this. I did read there's a page at the back about the illustrator, but I did notice these two birds. I don't know if it's a heron. I want to say it's a heron, but it's very sort of Eastern Japanese mythology sort of symbolism. They're very popular. And then, as I say, I looked at the back, and I will find it. Again, look, another beautiful illustration. About the illustrator, Audrey Kawasaki is a Japanese-American artist born and raised in Los Angeles. She currently lives in the UK. Okay, cool. Kawasaki's work contains contrasting themes of innocence and eroticism, conveying the mysterious intrigue of feminine sensuality. It goes on, but yeah, they're really beautiful. So the book itself, the cover, I like the cover. It's not too out there, but it's enough to grab your eye and does the job. Illustrations are just stunning, and it's just a very well put together book. So that is that. Now, I'm trying to remember the way I did these videos when I was doing them quite frequently, but I'm pretty sure I used to read the opening poem, which I did inadvertently before in the first segment. But let me read this poem in... Oh, fairy tales, there you go. See, I didn't even... There you go. Trigger warning. Spousal abuse, I guess. Prettiest boy, full of sadness and mischief. Your words are winsome and diaphanous, like the rain that momentarily collects on flower petals. My heart stretches eager to encapsulate your wounds. Let me heal you. Violent boy, full of rage and insecurities. Your hands are so beautiful and strong. You use them to hurt me now. Delicate bruises splayed across my jaw. I wonder what you are thinking while I cry and beg you to stop. Okay, I'm going to edit this. Trigger warning. Pretty heavy hitting, but I like that one. Again, as I said already, you can really kind of... Every single page, even the poems I'm going to move on to next that aren't quite my favourites, every single page in this book is just sort of drenched in emotion. It looks better in my mind. That image looks better in my mind than how I just described it. I'm really rusty, okay? It's been about a year, if not more, since I've even picked up a poetry collection. So I'm a little bit rusty. Go easy on me. So this is one of my other favourites. It's called Mirror. When you look at me, I know you see the abandoned child, the missing mother, the alcoholic father, but if you look deeper, you will also see the pain caused by your words, the bruises left by your hands, the love lost to your lies, and the treasure that turned to dust in front of your eyes. I really like the use of enjambment there. I think that's just one of the most powerful ways I've seen enjambment used. So well done, Megan Fox. But yeah, that's my favourite. So let's go on to some other points. I said that I would be open-minded, but I'm also going to be honest and stand by, what I've said in other collections. And I think around page 20, I've got 23 here, we get to those shorter poems that I kind of think, is that a poem? So for example, and my heart never rests because it does not trust the hand that holds it. That's called Why I Have Insomnia. And my heart never rests because it does not trust the hand that holds it. Again, yeah, cool. It's a nice sentiment. What I will say, I'm sort of riffing here, that although that's kind of the minimum, the minimum of what you could put onto a page, it still has, and tell me if I'm wrong here in the comments, because everything's subjective, right? It still seems to have that air of poesy, emotion behind it. And my heart never rests because it does not trust the hand that holds it. It still sort of rolls off the tongue nicely. I wouldn't go as far as to say that meter is being put into it. Maybe she was considering the meter of it, but it rolls off the tongue nicely. It still has, as I said, that element of poesy, whereas some poems, some books we've sort of read, it's just a statement. And again, there's been enjambment has been used here. There's been line breaks where again some other poems, some other books have got pages where that would just be in one line, and you think, well, that's a sentence rather than a poem. So there's still sort of an element of artistic expression on it, but I still think it could go deeper. We could expand on that, and I'm not sure. I'll leave it at that. Another great illustration. I folded this down. So at this point I was kind of reading a lot of those poems, and again, taking into consideration everything I've just said, it was around this point when I was reading, I was kind of like, okay, it lost me a little bit. Let's put it that way. The book lost me a little bit. But how will you ever know if I'm still smiling when you can't see past your own tears? I haven't folded that one down. I think this is the point where I kind of was giving up a little bit. It was losing me, should I say. But how will you ever know if I'm smiling when you can't see past your own tears? It's so difficult, because it's a good saying, right? But how will you ever know if I'm smiling when you can't see past your own tears? It's a valid point. It's a valid sort of expression. But I don't know if it belongs in a poetry collection. And maybe it's just because it takes up such little space on a page, so maybe I'm a bit biased because I hate that. And maybe I would be singing its praises if this was accompanied by other little poems. So maybe I'm being biased. But how will you ever know if I'm smiling when you can't see past your own tears? Like, I get what it's saying. I think it's a good saying. Maybe it'll grow on me. But this is why the book started to lose me, because literally the next page is another little micro poem. She runs because she knows the truth that lies beneath your good intentions. That was probably my least favourite in the whole book, because it does, although it's got the enjambment which I've mentioned, it does, when you read it out loud, it does just feel like a thought. And I think we can all say we're guilty of it sometimes. I certainly am, so I'll speak for myself. I'm guilty of it sometimes, when you kind of come up, you're laying in bed late at night and something like that enters your head, and you think, oh, that's profound. Wow, I'm a genius. And I think it's important that we sort of catch ourselves and not get carried away with that. Just because it feels like a profound chain of thought. Does it belong in a poetry book? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, I don't want to be super harsh, because I think it's important that we support each other as poets, and we kind of try to nurture this surge in poetry and be glad that people like Megan Fox are bringing poetry to the forefront. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. People like Megan Fox. All I mean by that is an A-list celebrity, because of what we've seen in the past where we've spent £14 on a poetry book and never pick it up again. This is not the case with this. I can see myself, like Lana Del Rey's, having it on my bedside bookshelf and dipping in and out of it often, because the emotion is definitely there, and that's really what we want from poetry books. And by the way, I'm far from being the target audience of this, so if I can appreciate what's here and being presented, particularly the themes, which I can't relate to at all, but I love the book, then that definitely goes in favour of the book, and clearly the poetry is doing its job, if that makes sense. I really need to get back into the swing of this and get used to forming sentences. And anyway, she runs because she knows the truth that lies beneath your good intentions. Great phrase, relatable. I just said I can't relate to any of this, but great phrase, and you know, great phrase, and yeah. Does it belong in a poetry book though? So yeah, look, it's a big collection, and again, final thoughts, big collection. I will definitely be keeping this by my bed to go in and out of. I didn't read it cover to cover like I did Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass, but that's just because stylistic preference. I really, vibe. I sound like a young Ute. I really vibe with Lana Del Rey's style, but this is just, packs a punch. So I will also finish by saying trigger warnings. This is very heavy stuff. There's trigger warnings on multiple different topics. I'll leave you to do some research on what they are. I read a very interesting thing. Okay, let's close with this. I read a very interesting thing from a poet who submitted some work to the Poetry Code magazine and got accepted. I'm publishing one of his poems about trigger warnings, and how he doesn't like trigger warnings because he doesn't want to be pre-warned about things. He wants it to naturally hit home, and I've been sort of thinking over the last week if I agree with that or not, because on the one hand, I can see what he's saying. If you're pre-warned, if you're expectant of something, does it hit quite as much as if it takes you by surprise and you're like, whoa, which was the case with this. On the other hand, that's easy to say when you aren't triggered by it. I'm not saying this particular poet hasn't got anything that might trigger him, but for example, okay, let's talk heart to heart now. I kind of got myself into a situation where I was drinking more than I should because I've had a rough time the last 5-6 years, and I didn't think anything triggered. I'm through that now. I'm sober for the last 6 months, maybe. It's on my phone, but anyway. And I didn't think I got triggered by anything until last week. And bear with me. Some people might think, "Oh, what are you talking about?" But bear with me. Until last week, when Matthew Perry from Friends passed away. If you're a 90s kid, most of us love Friends, myself included. And I was kind of watching back some of his interviews, and the way he spoke about his relationship with addiction and drinking triggered me. And I almost, but I didn't. I almost broke sobriety, because he said about how when he had a drink, it was the only time he felt normal, like the stars had aligned, and that's exactly how it felt, and it reminded me of that feeling. So how do you feel about trigger warnings? How did we even get onto that? Crazy segment. How do you feel about trigger warnings? I'm going to give you a trigger warning because I think, actually, yes, if you can be triggered, you need to be warned. But what are your thoughts? Go out and buy this book, give it a read, take your time with it, be open-minded. There may be some pieces you don't like, but I think all in all, the pages of this book are just seeped in emotion, and it's just really raw. A lot like Bella Thorne's collection. I think there's more technique in here, and more thought has gone over the majority of the poems in here. So all in all, if I was to give it a out of 5, I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 5. So yes, that is Pretty Boys Are Poisonous by Megan Fox. My name's Adam Gary. Please, if you like the video, like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications. A massive 90% of my views are from people who aren't subscribed, so if you're watching my video, please hit subscribe. I'm going to go and chill out. There's a new TV show tonight about Shakespeare, because we are celebrating, hence why I'm wearing Shakespeare socks. I don't know if you can see that. It's 400 years since his first folio was published. A lot like many poets, whilst he was alive, his work never really... He wasn't the Shakespeare we know now. I mean, he was obviously massive, he was still part of the court and performing for the Queen and stuff, but it wasn't until he passed, and I believe it was Ben Jonson, but don't quote me on that, Ben Jonson published, with others, the first folio of Shakespeare 400 years ago, and that's when Shakespeare was introduced to the world, so to speak. So yes, rambling now, signing off. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.